an urban center of more than 2 million residents, a flourishing retail hub, home to the biggest multinational companies, massive manufacturing units, and the most important expat populations in the country. And this is what a few hours of rain does to one of India's foremost planned cities. While the skyscrapers, the towering high rises, and the sprawling infrastructure may have done a lot of good to the capital region's economy, they have done more damage, and some of it seems irreparable. Nightmarish traffic, houses, offices submerged, people wading through waist deep water, power cuts, and the city coming to a grinding halt. The root cause? Well, it's been the same for decades, and that's clogged drains. Who is to be held responsible for a failed plan for a city always in a flux? Is it the civic body? And is the civic body, by the way, a dedicated one for Gurugram, working for the taxpayers of the city or those profiting from the unchecked infrastructure? On left, right, and center, we ask, with Gurugram brought to its needs yet again, is this simply waterlogging or a deluge of dysfunction? Joining me on the show this evening, Dr. Sudhir Krishna, former Secretary, Ministry of Urban Development, Government of India. I'll also be joined by Neelam Ahluwalia, one of Gurugram's foremost environmentalists and also the founder member of People for Aravallis. Dr. Sudhir Krishna, just a couple of weeks back, we were discussing another urban center, and that was Mumbai. But today we are discussing Gurugram and similar scenes. I can see Neelam Ahluwalia is also with us. But Dr. Krishna, I mean, how do you see the scenes that have unfolded in Gurugram today? It's clearly unchecked infrastructure, and the root cause, as I said, has been the same for years on end, and that is desilted, the desilting process not being completed and clogged drains.
Well, I think largely I agree with you that drainage system needs attention, but things are a little more complicated, and recent developments have also added to the problem. So traditionally, the traditional issue is that the natural drainage system in Gurgaon, because highly undulating terrain here, and so there are regions and areas, localities which are little at elevation, they face less problem. But whatever is lower lying, they suffer. Now the natural drainage system is completely, by the development, the natural smaller drains have been choked. All development does not allow the rainwater to flow anywhere in the natural drainage system, minor one. Major drainage system, natural drainage system has been all, choked with construction and demolition waste mostly, and also damaged with many other filth. Garbage is dumped. So that is one thing. The man-made drainage system, the Gurgaon is dependent on man-made drainage system now. Natural drainage system is almost like not helpful at all because closed. The man-made drainage system, as you said, requires upkeep, but the upkeep requires a lot of attention. Probably there is shortage of manpower and so on. But there's almost, I think, 550 kilometers of man-made drainage system. It's a huge network. Requires a lot of maintenance efforts, which is not happening. So these are the traditional problems. So the recent problems which are added, somewhat typical to Gurgaon, though not exactly only for Gurgaon, but one is that a lot of villages have been merged into the city. These villages were interspersed, in the city, but they were called outside. They were not part of the municipal corporation of Gurgaon. Now they have been, a few years ago, they have been added into the municipal corporation. But addition is only like on paper. Integration of infrastructure, integration of drainage system, development of planning, etc. has not happened. So those villages are like not so, their drain system is not well connected.
In fact, that's a very important point because we rarely discuss this idea and the misery in urban villages. Something that we see in Delhi as well, villages close to the capital region, in Noida, but also in Gurugram. And Neelam Ahluwalia come in on this because you've been a very articulate voice on the Aravalli cause, and you've spoken about how unchecked development, unchecked infrastructure has led to this kind of civic mess. In Gurugram, what is the situation of these urban villages? Because you keep visiting these places and you meet people there. What is the situation? Because these are visuals that we are seeing only on the surface, the main roads of Gurugram. But when we go, deeper inside, the situation is even worse. And that really tells us or reveals to us the real picture of this urban center.
Hi, Vedant. So actually, very interestingly, our team has traveled across 17 districts in out of 22 in Haryana over the last few weeks, and we've been consulting with people at the grassroots as to what are their environmental problems and what are the problems that they are facing on an everyday basis, because elections are coming in Haryana
Yes.
in October, and we've actually prepared a green manifesto, which which in which we've got inputs of experts from various fields. We've got rural, urban, citizens groups, all kinds of people have actually given their inputs, and the Green Manifesto has been finalized now. So it's actually got demands for how to make our towns and cities more livable, how to make our rural areas more livable, how to manage our waste, how to manage our water, how to manage our natural resources in a way that we don't see these problems, on an everyday basis. So, and this manifesto, we're actually, the people of Haryana are presenting to all the political parties now. And it is a huge demand that the political parties need to make it a part of their manifestos. So, our manifestos,
So that's an
the
interesting
political
point you're
parties
making,
need to,
because very
yeah.
often we see that the civic body, who is it actually reporting to? Who is it actually benefiting? Sudhir Krishna, come in on this, because Gurugram has a dedicated civic body. You have the Gurugram Authority, the Gurugram DC, looking after exactly these issues. Are our civic bodies benefiting those who are profiting from the unchecked infrastructure, or the very people who are having to wade through waist-deep water and face this misery year after year?
Yes, actually, I see that the like left hand is not collaborating with the right hand kind of
Yes.
situation. How it is, because now we have got this project, I mean, this concept of ground floor properties getting converted into still plus 4 floors. You have to really visit those colonies and see what damage they are doing to the drainage network and footpath network. These are small, peaceful, quiet residential areas are under huge construction activity. See, from 1 floor you convert into 4 + 1, 5 floors. What an amount of construction waste is generated, and new construction activities. Bring in lot of, everywhere you find piles of sand and other construction material, and drainage system is completely collapsed in these residential areas, which are, and rampant. It is rampant. Every single residential colony is converted into high rise with the drainage system is damaged.
In fact,
And
it's interesting that you bring up that point of high rise. And the last word to you, Neelam Ahluwalia, very quickly as we wrap up this debate. The high rises, who does it actually benefit? I mean, of course, it has made Gurugram more livable, certainly. But this alleged builder Neta nexus that is often discussed is also extremely pertinent to this story.
I disagree with you, Vedant, that the high rises have actually made our city more livable. The whole point is that our city is actually not livable. A city, we are actually demanding for a livability index. And how is that livability index defined? That we don't see scenes like this year after year. So we are actually demanding that ecological planning be at the root of any kind of development that the state of Haryana sees, not just in our urban areas, but also in our rural areas. So that is where the problem is, that there is a lack of systemic thinking. There is a lack of design thinking. So that is what as citizens we are demanding from our politicians, and it's going to be a very interesting journey to see that who is actually going to address these issues in the coming elections.
All right. Thanks very much, Sudhir Krishna and Neelam Ahluwalia, for being with us as we continue to focus on the urban infrastructure mess that we're seeing across urban centers, whether it is Mumbai, Delhi, of course, Gurugram. I mean, look at those visuals. Absolutely shocking there, how just a couple of hours of rain brought Gurugram to its knees completely. Nightmarish traffic. Well, it was a Sunday. Otherwise, the situation would have been much worse as far as Gurugram is concerned. Remains to be seen how the situation pans out tomorrow. A word out there for all the commuters to keep that time margin as well as you go to work.